Welcome to the Global Trail, where we blaze paths across our world to uncover the stories beyond the surface. In the heart of Europe lies a city that whispers in every brick, glows in every stained glass window, and lingers in the memory like an unfinished poem. Prague. At first glance, it's a fairy tale. Spires piercing the sky, cobbled streets echoing with history, and a river that cuts through time as effortlessly as it cuts through stone. A place where medieval bridges meet modern minds, where kings once ruled and now students, artists, and wanderers roam freely. But what no one expected was this. Because behind the postcard skyline lies a different Prague, a city caught between preservation and progress, between tradition and rebellion, between stone and smoke. Here churches stand tall, but pews stand empty. Freedom is everywhere, but so is disillusionment. Beauty abounds, but so does the silent tension of a nation redefining itself. Prague doesn't shout. It suggests. Look closer, and you'll see tattoos under cashmere coats, a beer cheaper than water, a subway system that runs on trust, and a generation that trusts only itself. This isn't just a city. It's a contradiction wrapped in Gothic arches and glazed in golden light. And so we begin our journey not just through space, but through meaning. We're not here to visit Prague. We're here to understand it. Next, we'll uncover the geography and placement of this city, why its very position has made it both a crossroads and a battleground of ideas. The crossroads without a coast. Look at a map of Europe, and you might almost miss it. No coastline, no empire. Just a landlocked square surrounded by giants. Germany to the west, Austria to the south, Poland above, Slovakia beside. And in the center of it, all like a heartbeat, within a chest sits Prague. But what no one expected was this. Because while the Czech Republic has no sea to call its own, it has always been a current. A place through which empires have flowed, ideas have crashed, and revolutions have rippled. It is not isolation that defines this country. It's intersection. Prague has seen Celts, Romans, Slavs, Germans, Habsburgs, Soviets. It has borrowed languages, borrowed gods, borrowed kings, and somehow remained unmistakably itself. This geography shaped not only the land, but the people. To survive here, you don't just adapt. You absorb. And you remember. The river Vltava, rare in its northward flow, wends like a contradiction through the city, cutting east from west, old from new. On one side, Gothic towers. On the other, glass and steel. It's as if Prague refuses to be one thing. And perhaps that's its secret. Because when you are surrounded, when every border touches someone else's dream, you learn to make your own space. Not by building out, but by building deep. And in this depth of history, of silence, of story, Prague holds a power greater than army's identity. Next, we'll explore how this identity lives and breathes in the very streets of the capital, in the trams, the metro, and the rhythm of the daily commute. The city that runs on trust. Beneath Prague's ancient stones lies something unexpected. A machine humming quietly, moving millions with grace and precision. The metro. It's not flashy. No digital billboards, no commercial noise, just speed, cleanliness, silence, and something else entirely. Trust. Because what no one expected was this: there are no turnstiles, no barriers, no armed guards watching every entry. Here you buy your ticket, not because a gate forces you, but because your conscience does. Every 10 minutes a train arrives. On time. Not as a miracle, but as a standard. The system doesn't scream efficiency, it whispers it. With stations named like chapters in a book: Mustek, Museum, Malostranska. and passengers who read as they ride. Above ground, the rhythm continues. Trams slide through the streets with the elegance of old souls. They have the right of way, and people give it not out of fear, but habit, out of respect. Some cities conquer chaos with cameras. Prague does it with rhythm. Even the overhead wires intricate, almost poetic form, a lacework against the sky. As if the city is stitched together by movement, not metal. And in the quiet of these trams, you notice something more: the faces. A grandmother clutching flowers, a student sketching buildings, a conductor who smiles just slightly as the doors close. This isn't just transportation, it's a philosophy. In Prague, order isn't enforced, it's inherited. Next, we'll step off the tram and into the lives it carries to see how the cost of living here balances between beauty and burden. Beautiful, but never cheap. Prague shimmers not with gold, but with grace. Its streets gleam. Its buildings stand like sentinels of time. Its cafes hum with conversation. And for many visitors, it feels like a dream. But what no one expected was this. Living in a dream comes with a price. The average salary in Prague hovers around 40,000 euros Czech korunas, roughly $1,600 before tax. After deductions, what's left is closer to survival than luxury. Now imagine rent, a modest one-bedroom apartment, 25,000 korunas. That's over half the paycheck gone before groceries, transit, or life can begin. And so many share. 3, 4, sometimes 5 adults dividing a space meant for 2. Privacy becomes a privilege, solitude a myth. Yes, beer may be cheaper than water, but freedom, that costs more. This is a city of artists, teachers, engineers, all carving out beauty in a place that doesn't always carve back. And yet, they stay, because Prague offers something rare: dignity in the details. Streets swept clean by store owners before dawn. Students reading Kafka on the tram. Architecture that doesn't apologize for elegance. It's not easy, but it's theirs. And in the eyes of the Czechs, calm, clear, sometimes tattooed, you see it a quiet pride, not of wealth, but of place. So yes, Prague is beautiful, but it is never cheap, not in coin, not in compromise. Next, we'll meet the generation navigating this tightrope, the youth of Prague whose choices reflect a culture both liberated and restless. Ink, irony, and inner order. At first glance, Prague's youth can feel like a contradiction: bold tattoos beneath polished coats, solemn faces behind ironic smiles, freedom woven into every thread of their black denim. What no one expected was this isn't rebellion, it's refinement. A quiet revolution dressed not in slogans, but in choices. A generation shaped not by gods or dogma, but by the simple belief: I decide who I am. In a city where 91% of young people identify as atheists, belief has taken a different form in science, in identity, in art. They do not pray, they question. And in that questioning, they find a kind of sacred space. Their tattoos are not rebellion, they are remembrance. Their silence, not apathy, but observation. They walk with earbuds, not to disconnect, but to think. And in the cafes under vaulted ceilings, or beside centuries-old statues, they code, sketch, read, build. This is a generation fluent in both Kafka and JavaScript. Some might call them detached. But spend an hour in a tram, and you'll notice when an elderly woman enters, they stand. When someone drops a glove, they pick it up. Their freedom is not chaotic, it's curated. This is not a Prague of chants or protests. It's a Prague of presence. The message is not shouted, it's lived. They may not believe in heaven, but they believe in now. And so Prague pulses with a strange harmony, where the past is preserved, but the future is inked on skin. Next, we explore a deeper layer, the spaces they refuse to show, and the industries that thrive in silence. The city that smiles in silence. Prague is polite, refined, clean. And yet, it is also one of the global capitals of an industry often whispered, rarely admitted. What no one expected was this: the Czech Republic, with less than 1% of the world's population, produces nearly 13% of the world's adult films. Walk the cobbled streets of Malá and you might pass a global star. Sit in a cafe near the river and your barista may double as a cam technician. But no one talks. No one brags. Because here, silence is the culture. This isn't sleaze, it's structure. Studios operate legally, contracts are signed, consent is documented. Actors, often young women, enter by choice, drawn by money independence, or simply the lack of judgment around them. Czech society, largely secular, treats morality not as doctrine, but decision. You won't find protests or preachers here, only quiet choices and quiet lives. And that silence is loud. It says, do what you must, just own it. Not every visitor knows this side of Prague. Some never will. But for those who look past the facades, past the stained glass and stone saints, a different kind of freedom flickers in the alleyways. It is not glamorous. It is not shameful. It is. And like many things in Prague, it coexists politely with everything else. Next, we move from the hidden to the historic, the quarters that tell stories, without needing a single word. The Quarter. That history couldn't erase. Tucked within the heart of Prague is a place where time stands still, not in nostalgia, but in quiet resistance. This is Josefov, the Jewish Quarter. Narrow lanes, worn stone, synagogues older than some nations, and a silence that feels deeper than prayer. What no one expected was this: during World War II, when cities across Europe burned, when Jewish communities were erased from maps, this exact place was spared. Why? Some say it was Hitler himself, that he wanted to preserve Josefov as a museum of an extinct race, a monument to absence, a twisted tribute to the genocide he planned. But history, like Prague, rarely follows the script. Instead, the Quarter lived. And in doing so, it defied every intention written against it. Today, the gravestones still stand crooked, crowded, layered by centuries. Each one a whisper, each one a name not forgotten. The synagogues still breathe. The golem of Prague still sleeps in local legend. And visitors wander not through ruins, but through resilience. This quarter is not just sacred, it is stubborn. In a city where churches are often empty and beliefs quietly personal, Josefov remains a place of reverence. Not because of religion, but because of remembrance. Here, history doesn't ask to be told. It waits to be felt. Next, we journey from the past to the playful, to a street so narrow it needs traffic lights, and a city that never stops surprising, of mushrooms micro streets and beer that's cheaper than water. Some cities impress with monuments, others with money. But Prague wins you over with a raised eyebrow and a quiet smirk. Because what no one expected was this: tucked into its oldest district is a street so narrow it needs a traffic light. Not for cars, but for people. Just 48 centimeters wide at its tightest, this tiny lane in Malá Strana is less of a road and more of a dare. And yet it leads somewhere warm, a cozy restaurant tucked like a secret. Then there's the beer. You've heard the legend, cheaper than water. It's true. In Prague, a pint can cost less than €1. And it's not just a tourist trick. This is culture, cold, crisp, and deeply Czech. But the real surprise, mushrooms. Every year, families gather over 8 kilos of mushrooms, not from markets, but from forests. Foraging is a national pastime passed down like recipes or lullabies. In the Czech Republic, mushrooms are more than food. They're memory. They're medicine. They're the poor man's meat. Walk through a national park and you'll see them, couples, children, pensioners, bent low baskets in hand-eyes, trained on the earth like treasure hunters. It's not eccentric. It's essential. Because in Prague, tradition doesn't wear costumes. It wears boots. It brews beer. It climbs hills to find what others overlook. Even its weirdness feels grounded. And perhaps that's Prague's magic, its ability to delight without trying too hard, to be quirky without being loud, to surprise not with spectacle, but with sincerity. Next, we trade whimsy for velocity and step onto the ice. Because while the rest of Europe worships football, Prague has its own religion, hockey, ice identity, and the national pulse. When you think of European sports, you probably think football. Stadiums roaring, jerseys flying. But in Prague, loyalty wears a different jersey and skates. Because what no one expected was this: the Czech Republic is one of the world's fiercest ice hockey nations. And in Prague, hockey isn't just a sport. It's blood memory. Its identity frozen into ritual. From September to April 14th, professional teams battle across the Czech Ice Hockey League. And come playoff time, cities pause, families gather, pubs overflow with eyes locked to the screen breaths held between puck drops. Legends like Jaromír Jágr, with hair as iconic as his slapshot, are household gods here. Ask a kid on the tram who they want to be, and odds are, it's not a footballer. It's a winger with cold fire in his eyes. But this love for hockey isn't just in the arenas. It's in the street games, the frozen ponds in rural villages, the makeshift rinks behind apartment blocks. Here, ice isn't a seasonal inconvenience. It's a canvas. It reflects something deeper about the Czech spirit, calm on the surface, fierce underneath, precise, patient. But when it moves, it's unstoppable. Prague's elegance, its old-world charm, it might fool you into thinking the city is soft. But beneath the spires, there's steel, and it sharpens on the ice. Maybe that's why hockey matters so much here. It mirrors the country itself, overlooked, underestimated, and then suddenly brilliant. Next, we skate from the rink to the roots of innovation, from athletes to alchemists, and the Czech minds that shaped modern science, and even invented the word robot. Small country, big echo. Some places leave their mark with power, others with poetry. The Czech Republic. It does both quietly, because what no one expected was this: that this small, landlocked country, often overlooked, often underestimated, has shaped the very DNA of our modern world. Literally. Gregor Mendel, born in what is now the Czech Republic, planted the seeds of genetics. His pea plant experiments revealed the laws of inheritance, paving the way for everything from medicine to ancestry tests. And then, there's Kafka, the man whose name became an adjective, whose writings turned bureaucracy into dread and identity into a maze. His stories still haunt the minds of anyone who's ever felt lost in a system or in themselves. But the most unexpected gift, a word: robot. Coined in a 1920 Czech play by Karel Čapek, the term described laborers made of synthetic flesh, created to serve and eventually to rebel. A century later, we use the word daily for vacuum cleaners, Mars rovers, and machines that think. From biology to philosophy to artificial intelligence, Czech minds planted roots. The world still stands on. And it doesn't stop there. Contact lenses, invented by a Czech chemist. Mass-produced beer, perfected in Czech breweries. Even the surrealism in your favorite art house film, thank Czech cinema. This country and this city may not shout, but its echoes are everywhere. So next time you blink, breathe, or boot up a bot, remember some of that began in Prague, a city of stone, of secrets, of sparks. Thanks for journeying with the Global Trail. See you on the next trail.